Everyone. I'm just going to give a quick overview of the technology behind it and then talk about some of the technology that might come out of it and the social impact of that. Okay, so basically the setup that we have, if you think of a person, for example, you receive visual input, sensory input, and then you act upon it. For example, I see this chair, I lean out to touch it. In the same way, we're embodying the cells in the robot. These are sonar sensors, so basically this is receiving, it's seeing what's around it. That's being applied to the culture. This is a culture of cells, between 1,000 million cells, which live on the bottom of this petri dish. So there's 60 electrodes, this is a close-up of this, embedded in the bottom of the dish. So they can see the electrical impulses that are occurring around those cells. So if you imagine this moves towards a wall, the sensory input changes. The cells near an electrode, for example, over here are stimulated. And then the pathway, the netway and the path between the cells up here and the cells down here, which is determined as cells learn and change, that results in how the behaviour changes. So for example, if a connection changed from there to there, for example, one time might go left, one time might go right. It's that sort of how the connections change and work together to result in behaviour on a network level scale that we're interested in. So this is just a quick video of the robot moving around.
And the robot is linked via Bluetooth with its cell culture, which is sitting in a bioreactor, no? Am I right? An incubator, sorry.
Reacting. Yeah, so it's all completely wireless. So what's the point of this? As I said downstairs, basically, neuroscience methods today, you can study either single neurons or very small sections of the brain at one time. And you're using very artificial stimuli compared to what it's used to. For example, if you was to study a piece of my brain, I'm used to seeing the world in millions of colours. But you'd have to study that with like a single pulse or a bar or something to make any sense out of the experiments. With the Animat paradigm, however, those cells have been placed on the MEA, they've grown and connected there. All they've ever seen is this kind of stimuli, so that's their whole world. So you're effectively studying the whole brain with stimuli that it understands. Hopefully the knowledge that we gain about the network level interactions of this will allow us to, well, eventually allow people and technology to increase to a point where we can effectively interface advanced prosthetics. For example, not just necessarily peripheral prosthetics like that, but maybe visual implants, audible implants, that sort of thing. And also allow us to further understand complex neurological disorders rather than the current scattergun approach of applied chemical.
So it's creating meaningful, sort of links which are more meaningful in relation to prosthetics in the body, because you control them with your neurosystems basically, rather than just having something attached to your body, so they are directly into your body. Into your brain.
To move one step further on from that, it might be possible, well, it will be possible, to enhance, for example, enhance brain capacity, add an extra sense. You could be directly connected to the phone, for example, within your head, once we know how to connect cells to that technology. I feel the kind of thing that will come from this. So if you think about, as we begin to understand how networks of neurons work together to produce intelligence, the intelligence of even quite simple things like flies, for example, is quite far beyond what we're able to do with artificial intelligence. So as we begin to learn and go from this, we're going to create more advanced robots and more sophisticated interactions with these.
Yes, and probably what I can add to that is the fact that when it becomes relevant, interesting from a social cultural perspective, the fact that our relationship with devices or objects, they might become much more engaging, simply because there's a level of an emotional perhaps level, or maybe there is something which the fact of caring about a series of cells that perhaps come from an animal or a human being, and therefore there's a kind of the relation that becomes closer, if you like, because there's maybe the kind of feeling good, the fact that you have, it becomes, almost like the same way that we care about people, we care about, animals, and perhaps there's a point where we start to care about objects simply because the technology brings us that a bit more closer to objects or devices.
And that kind of leads into what we're saying here about extending and transferring life. If you could copy, for example, an entire brain, you could back it up, put it into a virtual world, such as Second Life. Or you could take like parts of people's personality, I don't mean physically take the cells, just copy the network and how it works together, into like a device or a product to remind people of that.
Or the idea also that, as we sort of, the text sort of says, expanding and transferring life. So imagining if someone who is very close to you passed away, and you were to culture some of the cells of that person, and those cells perhaps are embodied into a device or an object, to to be used as a memento for this person or this animal that is not there anymore with you. Or another way is actually extending your your actual life into a sort of into a device. Therefore, you are able to kind of think of as sort of an extension of yourself, and that sort of extension perhaps it could be used or consumed by that different individual, or by a family member, or by someone, your partner perhaps, and so on.
Almost with multiple eyes in different directions.
Exactly. And also I suppose there's as well this layer which is the virtual, and the reality as well. If you were to think of Second Life and so on. So as you can see, in a way, so the idea is, if we could, should we? And if so, what kind of direction we should go? But in using the Animat, sort of project, if you like, or technology behind the Animat project. And in a way, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 sort of examples that you're giving to you are, very different from each other, and yet they're all using the same technology. To something that perhaps it touches on very sort of, it becomes a little bit darker, if you like, because we're thinking of dead people or about, the idea of expanding the life. To something that perhaps is very, functional, and yet it can be quite provoking because it's about human enhancement, the idea about increasing the memory of your brain, increasing the capabilities of your brain, and so on. Then the idea of if we think of animals or sophisticated products, in the way, the good analogy, if we think of animals as surrogates, and the way how we treat them already, in replacement of human relationships or aesthetic pleasure and so on, there might be a point where perhaps we, the next level is that we actually start to have hybrid, sort of devices, which something between animals and machines, which we use them as pets or as a form of entertainment and so on. And then of course the medical application, the idea of linking, to create more meaningful, prosthetics for the human body, so medical application. So we would like to, I suppose, to sort of have a chat with you. I wonder if it would be good to just pick on an individual example, and then, as a starting point, and then, we have a chat about that one. And then we can follow up with others. Shall we probably start from the most, sort of, the one on the right-hand side, which is about